Parler, a social network adopted by the far right and recently kicked off AWS for its userbase's habit of advocating violence, is back online. The restoration questions the notion that big tech can take and keep an unwanted presence offline, but Parler's return is not quite a triumph, and its new CEO doesn't suggest much of a change in philosophy. Users can now log into Parler on the web, but when they do they will find that all their old posts and content have been removed. It's unclear whether this was a consequence of the hurried exit from AWS last month, a scorched earth policy regarding the content that got the site in hot water in the first place, or for some other reason. Fortunately, someone had the presence of mind to make a backup, though not with the intention of restoring it. @donk_NB scraped millions of posts and media files from the site for posterity, something that has already borne fruit as researchers have used the files to show, for example, where certain users were on the day of the Capitol riots. She is currently pointing out various problems with the new Parler's web rollout. The new site is described in a statement as using sustainable, independent technology and not reliant on so-called big tech for its operations. The new host is SkySilk, seemingly a reseller of OVH Cloud, and I've asked if the company plans to enforce its terms, which generally but not specifically prohibit things like threats of violence. The details of the terms violations were made more public in Parler's attempt to force Amazon to reinstate it. Update: SkySilk has issued a statement explaining that it is hosting Parler because of its position on free speech, which reads in part, "SkySilk does not advocate nor condone hate, rather, it advocates the right to private judgment and rejects the role of being the judge, jury, and executioner." Unfortunately, too many of our fellow technology providers seem to differ in their position on this subject. SkySilk truly believes and supports the freedom of speech and more specifically the rights afforded to us in the First Amendment. This is a non-negotiable issue for us. And while we may disagree with some of the sentiment found on the Parler platform, we cannot allow First Amendment rights to be hampered or restricted by anyone or any organization. SkySilk will support Parler in their efforts to be a nonpartisan public square, as we are convinced this is the only appropriate course of action. Parler, for its part, aims to make itself a bit less of an easy target by upping its moderation game. The site will supposedly be using both AI and human moderators to watch for content that could rock the boat, though Facebook has been trying this for years and still hasn't quite got the hang of it. They may have an easier job of it, considering Parler is still barred from the Google Play Store and iOS App Store. That's a huge damper on activity, since mobile users make up a large part of social networks.